Hey, it's Irreverent Aegis here, and in this video I'm going to walk you through how to get the Relentless Raider achievement. That's the Trifecta, meaning the hard mode, the speedrun, and the no-death, all in one in Veteran Frostvault. Before they nerfed this dungeon, this achievement used to be way cooler than it currently is, but since the nerf, it's become a lot easier, and really the only major fight that you need to worry about here is the hard mode. But before we get to that, I will walk you through some basic no-death strategies for each of the bosses. The first boss, of course, is Ice Stalker, the giant troll who likes to throw rocks at people. What we do is we run in, we drop our ultimates right away, and because we are going with the ultimate Aegis plus build for this dungeon, we get our ultimate back really fast. So what we do as the fight goes on is we build up that ultimate really quickly, and then either me or the healer or both, we're going to have a barrier in time for the execute. That's when those ice wraiths start building up and they start knocking everyone around like popcorn. So that is going to trivialize the no-death part of it when we have that barrier for the execute, and also as the tank I am going to put out my fear totem, because as the ice wraiths come out, they're still really annoying, so crowd controlling them works really well to make the fight a little quicker and less painful as well. I just mentioned the ultimate Aegis plus build, and what that is I wear Arcasis and Drake's Rush on the tank, and the plus part is our healer also wears Arcasis. We decided to go with that strategy in particular for this hard mode, and I'll talk a little bit more about why when we get to that hard mode. Zalgavin, the second boss, got nerfed dramatically when they nerfed this dungeon, so now there are barely any mechanics to even talk about or worry about. What I do need to worry about, of course, is blocking or dodging his heavy attacks, which is true of most bosses, and I do like to chain in the adds as they come up. He does a leap at a certain percentage, goes invulnerable, and then during that phase you simply need to not hard stack, and when you're not hard stacked you just burn through his shield. You'll see that his shield goes away very rapidly because we had ultimates ready to go. Technically, he's supposed to go through another shield phase at a different percentage when he leaps again, but we usually burn him right past that second one, and then he goes into a different mechanic, which is the whirlwind mechanic, as you can see now. So the whirlwinds start going around the outside, and then one whirlwind in particular, someone will need to kite around the outside. We pretty much trivialized this phase by killing him really quickly, so we don't need to worry about really a whole lot of things. The next Trifecta killer are these lasers up here, because someone is always going to inadvertently try to jump over it or roll dodge through it, and it'll kill you, so don't be an idiot. And now we're on to what used to be my absolute favorite boss in the entire game, the formerly infamous laser boss. Now, this fight was so amazingly fun and difficult, and it used to matter if you could get a no-death on this boss. It was so difficult, and it really highlighted different tank strategies that you could do to really effectively control a fight and keep your group alive. Nowadays, not so much. They pretty much got rid of every single difficult mechanic on this boss. Not only that, but now you can jump over and roll dodge through these lasers. You don't even need to hide behind the shield. So you'll see D-Rec every single time there's a laser. Rather than hide behind the shield like was originally intended, he just jumps over it. So those are your strategies. Just don't get hit by the laser, and you're good to go. The adds, they used to be difficult. They used to get enraged and send shockwaves of like over 20,000 damage through the group. So having something to mitigate damage on your tank for the group was amazing. And there used to be these spheres that rolled around. And what you were supposed to do as the tank was go blow them up and get stunned yourself to blow up the adds. Now, they don't even have those anymore. They got rid of them, so you can't even have fun and blow them up. Also, the boss used to go into his shield wherever he was. Now he automatically centers himself. So they really got rid of all the fun of this fight, and I know a lot of people are happy about it because everyone did terrible at this fight, but my group, we loved it. It was some of the most fun we've ever had on this boss. But now, to get the no-death, you just jump over the lasers or hide behind it, and the DPS stay out of the cleave or the AoE. And that's pretty much it. One more aside about how much I don't like this boss anymore. He used to have a hard lock in various percentages when he went into the shield, and you could actually burn through the hard lock only if he was doing a heavy attack. Now, it's kind of a soft lock, and the problem is you'll actually get multiple shield phases in a row. So he'll be in a shield, then he'll come out, and he'll instantly go back into the shield. You can see now that he only has 140,000 health. 3%, and look what happens. Bam, right back into the shield. We couldn't even do that little damage before you went back into the shield. So pretty much this entire fight, if you have good DPS, you're literally just waiting for phases. You're just waiting the whole time and doing nothing. And it's really, really annoying and not fun at all. So anyway, that's my complaints about this boss. I want them to unnerf this so that way no one can get this achievement anymore. After this fight, you're going to kill a few dwarven spiders, and then you're going to go through a couple of doors. And then you'll actually have 2 ad pulls that can be no death killers. So what I like to do, I like to save a barrier at the end of this fight. That way, when we attack the first group, marked by a big dwarven centurion, I can pop a barrier and we can kill them. Then after that, our healer pops a barrier on a staircase, and on that staircase, he'll pop the barrier, we'll roll dodge through the centurion, I will chain in one of the arquebuses to the other one, that way it's easy to get the bashes, and that barrier and our ulti dump takes care of all the ads. Here it is in fast motion. That tends to be the only real ad pull that might give some people some trouble, so I did want to mention how we did that one. Now we're about to get on to another boss. And this boss, they actually fixed. It used to be you could cheese it by completely getting rid of Avalanche. Now you can't do that. They actually fixed it. Shocking that they fixed something. So, here's how we do this one. Someone in the group, preferably the healer, slots Inner Fire and grabs Rizzik Bone Chill. That's the little dude. I, as the tank, grab Avalanche. He's the one that does the real damage, and I just hold him off to the side when everyone else goes to town on Rizzik. Now there is one mechanic on Avalanche that I need to go through, and it's right here. You'll see that he puts out a circle. If you go outside of the circle, you take massive damage, and if you're inside the circle, you have to get to the part that doesn't have the big highlighted area. So you need to walk around the circle and not get hit by it, because it'll knock you out of the circle, or deal a ton of damage to you, and you'll end up dying if you get hit by it. That's the only real major mechanic you need to worry about as the tank. The DPS just need to worry about not stacking on each other, because Rizzik will freeze everybody. He'll chill the air and freeze everybody, and then there'll be a lot of damage that goes out, and if you're stacked, then you take more damage and will likely have somebody in your group die. One other thing I did want to mention about Rizzik is that he does randomly teleport around, and he puts out a big AoE that needs to be interrupted. The final ad pull before the hard mode involves 3 waves. Each wave has a Dwarven Centurion. The tank should take those and face them away from the group because they have tonal AoEs. And there are arquebuses that spawn in the 2nd and 3rd wave. They should be taken down and interrupted before they knock somebody off the cliff. Of course, if you can't get the interrupt, that can be roll dodged or blocked as long as somebody's paying attention to the growing AoE under their feet. After those 3 ad waves, you get this test phase downstairs when you turn into Skeevatons. You cannot die down here. It's just a test run. Literally nothing happens. It's just practice that teaches you what you're supposed to do when you actually get to the boss fight. Now, for this boss fight, I do make several changes to my bar. First, I'm going to put on defensive stance and shield wall on my front bar. This is amazing for this fight with the Ultimate Aegis Plus build, because during every time you get the blue mechanic, where you have the big defile on you, I can simply pop the shield wall and spam my damage shield for free. And when I do that, guess what? I pretty much don't take any damage, and the defile is completely trivialized. Every single time we have a defile up, I pretty much have an ultimate ready to be used if I want to use it. When the defile isn't up, I am simply going to heavy attack a bunch of times to make sure that my resources are full, and my healer pretty much keeps my health topped off. Anytime you kill an arm, you get a big centurion. That's the best time to pop my shield wall, as you'll see. I hit it now, and now I just spam my damage shield over, and over, and over, and over again, and it's free. Again, trivializing that defile phase. So the Ultimate Aegis Plus build allows us to refill our ultimates right away. You can see I already have it again. It's only been a few seconds. I already have almost 200 ultimate. So by the time I have another defile phase, if I want to, I can pop another shield wall. The second change that I made to my bar for this fight was I slotted a flame staff on my back bar. And the reason why is I wanted to have access to the ability Flame Clench, because that allows me to knock back enemies. And once you get to this phase of the fight when both of the arms are gone, a lot of arquebuses are going to spawn on the outside, and we're going to have this where we spin in circles. And you can see that I go BAM, and I knock that guy off the cliff. And it's super fun to do this as the tank, because during this phase, you don't really have much else to worry about except maintaining aggro on the boss. So it allows your DPS to stay focused on damaging the boss and pushing yourself to the next phase. So if you want to have a lot of fun on your tank, and you're comfortable tanking this, backbar that Flame Staff and slot Flame Punch. One last thing that I wanted to mention before we end up doing the Skeevaton mechanic is that we want our healer to have a barrier ready before we go downstairs, because when you come up from this mechanic, the issue is he puts out that defile and the spinning blade shoots out a big AoE on everybody, so having a barrier ready right out of that is very helpful. In the Skeevaton phase, everyone's going to group up at the beginning, and the Guardian Skeevaton should give everyone a damage shield. Then you can do this one of two ways. Personally, we prefer where everyone travels as a group of 4 to blow up the first 2 shot conveyors. We think it's a little safer to do it that way. However, for this video, we actually are doing the 2-2 strategy, where the Guardian goes with a DPS and the healer goes with a DPS. In these Trifecta videos, I like to give the highlights on how to best survive the hard modes in particular. However, if you're not good at this Skeevaton phase, or anybody in your group isn't 100% sure of what their role is, check out my How to Tank Frostvault hard mode video. In that, I go over in great detail the role of each of the 3 different types of Skeevatons, even what buttons to press and when to hit them, and teach you exactly how to do this. I believe I go over the group up as a group of 4 strategy, not the 2-2 strategy. The last thing I'll mention about the Skeevaton phase is that if you have 2 people who are better at this than others, have them take the north and the west pathways, as those pathways are more treacherous. The north pathway, if you get the bad RNG, gives you a fire hallway and a curved hallway rather than a straight hallway, and a lot of people die to that because they don't know that the curved hallway has it, so the people who are more comfortable here should go that way. The west pathway, one of the paths, has a spinning blade before the shot conveyor, like right before it, and that's not true of any other paths. As soon as we go back upstairs, the tank needs to apply aggro immediately, and the healer should pop a barrier. We're going to get the defile pretty much instantly, and also that blade arm on the boss is going to hit me right away. If the DPS and healer are too close to that blade arm, just like downstairs, it will shoot out an AoE. So getting that barrier before we get too close to that blade arm is important to avoid an unnecessary death of one of the DPS or the healer. There are a couple of extra mechanics that occur during the second phase of this fight that didn't show up in the first one. One of them is that you get a spinning blade that takes either the inside track or the outside track. So as long as someone in your group calls out get inside or get outside, that's pretty easy to avoid. The rest of the extra mechanics happen after you take down that second arm. So obviously once you take down the second arm, you're going to get a Dwarven Centurion like usual that should be burned down. Somewhere around 20 to 30%, however, there's going to be another Dwarven Centurion that spawns. A lot of the times this is in the middle of the spinning fire mechanic, and when that happens, it might be difficult for the tank to pick up aggro on it right away, depending on where it drops down. So it's very important that the DPS and healer are aware that this happens, that way they can roll dodge its heavy attack while they're doing all of the other mechanics that they're doing. In addition to that spinning blade that goes on the inside and outside track, you're going to have another mechanic to deal with after this spinning fire phase starts in the second phase of the fight. And that is, you're going to have big conal AoEs that will knock people off the cliff. Those originate from the boss, and they're really obvious. So once you see them, you can either sidestep them, or you can roll dodge them. Here it is right here. I'm not in it, so I'm okay. As I knock this arquebus off the cliff, I'm about to be in a lot of trouble. Somehow the game decides that it's going to spawn the Centurion behind me, which is actually good because I like it when it spawns close. But it's going to spawn at the same exact time. I'm going to get this double conal in this spot, exactly where I'm standing, at the same exact time that we're going to get the fire mechanic starting, both to my left and to my right. So I have to pick a direction to roll dodge and hope the fire doesn't spin in my direction. So I choose left, and right when I go left, the fire comes out, and it starts spinning. Of course, directly at me. Not only that, but the Centurion, he doesn't decide to come towards me, he decides to run directly at the DPS and the healer. So in addition to having to deal with all that stuff that I just got myself out of, the Centurion is now out of my range and I need to track him down to taunt him. Knowing I won't be able to pick him up quickly, I alert my group that the Centurion's loose so they can look out for it and its heavy attack. Now, they're going to get the job done here, but of course it wouldn't be a great video without those last-minute dramatics. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button or leave a comment, and for more videos like this, please feel free to hit the subscribe button.